Free trade can be wonderful if you have smart people, but we have people that are stupid.
Once, Donald Trump seemed untouchable. A billionaire, a showman, a president, a man who could command a crowd's attention and control every word he spoke. But today, the world is increasingly confronted with a very different picture. His speeches have grown halting, his words tangled, his promises ever more detached from reality. Where once there was strength and confidence, now there is hesitation and chaos. And at the very moment when the United States and the world need clear leadership, Trump is showing signs of losing control not only over events, but over himself. Donald Trump always knew how to play to the public. His rallies drew thousands of supporters. His speeches sounded like slogans, simple, sharp, and persuasive. He built the image of a strong leader who had everything under control. But time has changed that image beyond recognition. More and more, audiences notice the difference.
If he knows what he's even doing.
Crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. No way. No way.
Repetition, rambling digressions, forgotten names and dates. Where once there had been crisp rhetoric, there are now signs of fatigue and loss of focus.
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Journalists and analysts document these changes, while psychologists and linguists speak of possible cognitive decline.
Is the medical report issued by his physician the truth or just a PR stunt?
For now, these are only observations, not a diagnosis. But such early signals are enough to raise a profound question. How healthy is the man who still seeks to lead a nation? And these troubling signs are visible not only in the United States. Around the world, people are watching closely how a man whose words can shape international politics and global security is changing before their eyes. The story of Donald Trump is the story of a man who turned scandal into a tool of popularity. The son of a New York real estate developer, he took the family business and transformed it into his personal brand. The Grand Hyatt, the iconic Trump Tower. These buildings became symbols of his ambition and his determination to stay in the spotlight at any cost. In the 1,980 seconds, he became the face of American capitalism. Glamour, skyscrapers, Atlantic City casinos. But behind the facade of success lay debt and bankruptcy. Trump lost billions, yet preserved the one thing that mattered most, his name, which itself became a brand. For him, failure was never an ending, only a new opening act. By the early 2000s, he had reinvented himself again, this time as a television star. The Apprentice made him a national icon of business bravado. His catchphrase, "You're fired," became a cultural symbol of the ruthless strength he projected to all of America. Then, in 2016, Trump made a move that had seemed impossible. With no political experience, defying experts and media predictions, he became the 45th President of the United States. His style, blunt, abrasive, often offensive, resonated more with voters than the polished speeches of career politicians. America chose the spectacle over the system. But today, the story is unfolding differently. The very tactics that once fueled his rise now seem to be turning against him. The image of the triumphant winner is slowly being replaced by the shadow of decline. Despite the visible changes in Trump's public appearances, his official medical reports remain surprisingly optimistic. In April 2025, the former president underwent a routine examination. The results: excellent physical and cognitive health. Doctors confirmed no evidence of serious cognitive impairment. His heart and lungs were within normal limits. Blood pressure and sugar were under control. The only recurring issue: high cholesterol. managed with medication. But there was also a more specific diagnosis: chronic venous insufficiency, a condition marked by swelling, heaviness, and bruising in the legs. According to physicians, it is common among older people and not life-threatening when managed properly. Official medicine insists that Donald Trump is still capable of leading an active life. The report even mentioned that he passed the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, showing no signs of dementia. Yet the more these reassurances are repeated, the more the public begins to wonder, how much can one trust doctors employed within the political circle? And are there details hidden behind those bland medical formulas that could change the picture entirely? Official reports may insist that Donald Trump is perfectly healthy, but independent experts are increasingly drawing different conclusions. Psychologists, linguists, and specialists in cognitive disorders have analyzed his speeches and public behavior. Linguists point out that his vocabulary has become simpler, his sentences shorter, and the number of repetitions significantly higher. Where once he delivered punchy slogans and confident statements, now his words often stumble into incoherence and long pauses. Some researchers interpret these patterns as potential signs of cognitive decline, even early dementia. Psychologists also highlight frequent emotional outbursts and impulsive behavior traits that can suggest diminishing self-control. Observers note physical changes as well: a hunched posture, bruises on his hands, a weary gaze. Together, these elements form a troubling picture that is hard to dismiss. Yet it is important to stress, none of these experts has issued a formal diagnosis. What we have are observations, but they are enough to fuel public doubt about whether a man in this condition can still aspire to power. One of the most striking recent examples came in September 2025 during a joint press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Trump declared that we resolve the war between Azerbaijan and Albania, when in fact the subject was the peace process between Azerbaijan and Armenia. This mix-up of two nations was more than a slip of the tongue. It symbolized how memory can falter, especially when a leader is trying to speak quickly about complex global issues. The blunder triggered a wave of criticism and satire, for Azerbaijan and Armenia are historically, culturally, and geopolitically distinct in ways no statesman should confuse. Critics noted that such mix-ups are not isolated. They have appeared in speeches and press briefings when Trump is asked about Ukraine, Gaza, or other conflicts. He sometimes scrambles details, forgets who is doing what, or misnames countries and leaders. Such examples underscore the danger. It is not just about a single mistake, but about a pattern of errors from someone whose words on the world stage must carry absolute precision. Whenever doubts about Trump's health surface in public, a well-oiled defense machine goes into motion. It is not only doctors and official reports, but a full strategy engineered by his team. Instead of detailed answers, they repeat short, reassuring phrases. He's in great shape. All his numbers are normal. These lines are pushed through press releases, media headlines, and even social media feeds, all designed to shape impressions before doubt can spread. Another tactic is the display of stamina. His rallies can last for over 2 hours, a performance meant to signal endurance and discredit talk of frailty. But beneath this image lies a critical problem. All official medical assessments are conducted by doctors directly tied to Trump's inner circle. No independent evaluations have ever been released. And that leads to the central question: where does medicine end and political public relations begin? The protective machinery functions smoothly. Yet the harder it presses its message of strength, the more the public suspects that something is being deliberately hidden. Doubts about Donald Trump's health are no longer whispered in private. They now directly shape public trust in him as a political figure. Polls show that while many loyal supporters still embrace the image of a strong leader, concern is rising among independents. For them, the public gaffes and lapses of memory are warning signs that this candidate may no longer be capable of making measured, responsible decisions. Far more serious, however, is the international effect. In Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, the media increasingly discuss not Trump's policies, but his physical and cognitive state. Each misstatement about a foreign country or a confused reference to another world leader creates tension and erodes trust in American diplomacy. American experts warn that doubts about a leader's fitness can weaken the nation's position at the negotiating table, as allies and adversaries alike begin to question who truly holds the reins of power in Washington. Gradually, personal health has become a political factor, and the more questions remain unanswered, the more trust is shaken both inside America and beyond. In recent years, Donald Trump has faced not only political, but also overwhelming financial pressure. Court cases, multi-million-dollar fines, frozen assets, all of it creates a constant stress that can weigh heavily on his health. Experts note that financial blows are especially painful for Trump. Throughout his life, he built the image of a billionaire winner for whom money was the ultimate symbol of power. Now, however, money itself has become a source of weakness. Fraud cases in real estate, accusations of tax violations, defamation fines worth tens of millions in just the past 2 years, the total claims against him have run into the billions. For any businessman, this would be catastrophic. For a politician, it is also a devastating blow to reputation. Observers point out that the sharper his financial troubles become, the more aggressive and erratic his public speeches grow. It is not only a psychological effect, but a reflection of how closely his personal condition, his health, and his political future are intertwined. Unlike medical diagnoses, financial pressure is easy to measure in numbers, and the larger the debts and the heavier the legal burdens, the harder it is to maintain control. For Donald Trump, this trial is proving just as destructive as the blows to his body. Trump has always tried to appear stronger than he really was. Back in the 1980 seconds, he called himself a symbol of New York's eternal energy, and in the 2000s he claimed his lifestyle and genes guaranteed longevity. But the numbers are merciless. He is now 79 years old. He is older than most presidents in U.S. history, including Ronald Reagan, who, in his final years in office, was already suffering from Alzheimer's disease. In 2016, his age seemed irrelevant. He appeared vigorous, able to speak for hours without visible fatigue. But 10 years of politics, endless court battles, and relentless media scrutiny leave their mark. Today, doctors confirm a list of age-related diagnoses: chronic venous insufficiency, high cholesterol, vision problems. All are common among the elderly, but together they form a picture that cannot be ignored. Age itself is not a diagnosis, yet in politics, where every word can alter the course of international affairs and every decision affects millions, aging becomes a matter of national security. When a president confuses the names of countries or forgets the identities of colleagues, it is not merely a human mistake, it is a warning sign. Donald Trump entered history as a businessman, a showman, and a politician who denied weakness at every turn. But time is stronger than any public relations campaign. Today, age is his most formidable opponent, one he cannot outtalk, outspend, or outperform at rallies. Age and illness, however, are only part of the picture. Scandals weigh just as heavily on Trump's image. Criminal cases tied to his attempts to overturn the 2020 election, investigations over the handling of classified documents, lawsuits alleging business fraud, all of it makes him not merely controversial, but toxic for a large part of society. Each new trial undermines trust, even among former allies. The reputation he built over decades is under siege, and even his most devoted supporters have begun to admit this is no longer the Trump they believed in back in 2016. Trump's family has always
Is
been
the
part of his
medical
political
report
and
issued
business
by his
identity,
physician
but
the
now it
truth
serves as a
or
mirror
just a PR
reflecting
stunt?
his decline. Ivanka Trump, once central to his campaigns, has stepped back, openly declaring she will not participate in his new political battles. For many, it was a sign that even those closest to him recognize his limits. His sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric, remain on the front lines, rallying with their father, defending him in interviews, repeating his slogans, but their speeches increasingly carry a tone of strain, as if they are trying to convince not only the public, but themselves. Melania Trump has all but vanished from the political scene. Her rare, restrained appearances seem more ceremonial than genuine. Together, these signals suggest that even within his family there is a growing acknowledgement. Donald Trump is no longer the force he once was. Loyal allies still surround him, but doubts are spreading. Can he truly finish the fight he has started? The media play no smaller role in Trump's fate. Friendly outlets like Fox News prefer to gloss over his mistakes, focusing instead on favorable narratives, while CNN and other critics dissect every slip of the tongue, turning them into national headlines. Yet the true force of amplification lies in social media. Clips of his errors and awkward moments spread instantly on TikTok and Twitter, racking up millions of views and transforming into memes. In the past, scandals worked to Trump's advantage, keeping him at the center of attention and reinforcing his cult of personality. Today, that cult has turned against him. Each mistake, each faltering performance, intensifies doubts about his state, while the cameras capture everything with merciless precision. And the harder he tries to maintain the image of a winner, the clearer the public sees the weaknesses that can no longer be concealed from millions of viewers. The Make America Great Again movement has always been inseparable from Trump's persona. He built it as a personal brand, rallying millions around a simple, emotional slogan. But now, a question looms. Can the movement survive without its founder at full strength? Analysts note that rallies no longer draw the crowds they did in 2016. And a portion of the electorate has grown weary of endless scandals. Within the Republican Party, new figures from Ron DeSantis to ambitious younger politicians are positioning themselves to seize the mantle. Yet for the core of Trump's base, he remains the symbol, the irreplaceable leader. The dilemma is stark. What happens to MAGA if Trump's health no longer allows him to carry the fight? For Donald Trump, politics is not only about power, but about securing a place in history. He has always sought to be remembered as the man who defied the system and reshaped America. Yet with each passing year, another prospect grows more likely, that of being forgotten, or worse, condemned. Court cases, scandals, public blunders, all threaten to overshadow his past triumphs and cement an image not of a victor, but of a man who lost control. Fear of this fate drives him back to the stage again and again, even as his strength ebbs. For Trump, defeat equals disappearance, and the admission of weakness would be catastrophic. That is why he presses forward, despite age, illness, and mounting pressure. But the question remains, will he be remembered as a symbol of strength or as an example of tragic decline? Today, we see Donald Trump in a new light, the man who once built skyscrapers in New York and turned his name into a brand, the man who shocked the world by becoming president against all odds. His story is one of highs and lows, of billions earned and billions lost, of television stardom and mass rallies, of endless scandals and a lifelong war against the system. But time has proven to be the strongest opponent. Age, illness, mistakes, and lawsuits. Each step erodes the myth of invincibility. Every public appearance is now scrutinized for signs of weakness. Every slip, every forgotten name, every confused remark becomes not just a minor error, but fuel for headlines and debate. His doctors insist he is in excellent shape. His supporters cheer for hours at rallies. But reality tells a different story, one that is becoming harder and harder to deny. The family has split. His sons continue to defend their father. Ivanka has stepped aside, and Melania has almost vanished from view. His inner circle builds a wall of press releases and slogans, yet the cracks are growing wider. The world looks at America and sees a leader who confuses countries and forgets dates. Allies are uneasy, adversaries are amused, and trust in the United States is eroding. Financial pressure only deepens the crisis. Billions in fines and mounting lawsuits turn each day into a trial, where not only politics, but the very legend of Trump is at stake. And perhaps the central question is not about diagnoses or debts. The true question is about the future. Can a nation entrust the fate of millions to a man who so often seems to lose control of himself? And is Trump himself willing to admit that his time is nearing its end? History offers countless examples of leaders who clung to power until the last, denying their own frailty. Almost always, the ending was tragic. Today, Donald Trump stands before a choice that will define his legacy. He can step away, preserving the image of a fighter who defied the system and reshaped the political landscape. Or he can remain and risk becoming a symbol of decline, a man who could not stop. That decision has not yet been made. But the longer he hesitates, the more fragile the empire he built becomes. And perhaps within this lies the greatest irony. Trump always believed he controlled attention, that he could dictate the agenda and force the world to play by his rules. But now, it is the world dictating the rules to him. His health, his age, his mistakes have become factors in global politics. No press release, no fiery statement can change that. So will Donald Trump be remembered as the victor who rewrote the rules, or as the leader whose fall became a cautionary tale for an entire era? The answer depends not only on him, but on those who must decide whether to trust a man who is losing control before their eyes. One thing is certain. This story is far from over, and its ending will carry consequences for America and for the world.